Okay, so we're on designing studies, still in section 4.2. We want to describe the placebo effect and the purpose of blinding an experiment, and we want to interpret the meaning of statistically significant in the context of an experiment. Okay, a placebo. We've heard of them. It's a fake or a dummy treatment. Okay, and it's meant as a control for other treatments. As some people will show improvement simply because they are receiving treatment. Fake or real. Some people, it's just in their head, they think they're getting real treatment, so then it doesn't matter whether the treatment's real or not. And so the placebo, and the placebo effect is exactly that, where people think they're getting treatment, so they get better because they think they're getting treated. Right. Blinding. The blinding is when the subject, okay, does not know what treatment they are receiving. That's called single blind. Because in single blind, the researchers or the people interacting with the subjects do know what treatment they're getting. Now, in double blind, which is what is preferred most of the time, okay, a double blind experiment is when neither the subject, the unit, or the people who interact with the subjects know what treatment the subject is getting. It really is a form of a control. It's a control because the people who interact with these subjects, they can become emotionally attached to the subjects. They start to care about these subjects, and so if the subjects start talking about they're starting to feel better because they're getting this medicine, and the researcher knows that they're not actually getting any medicine, there could be clues that the subject could pick up on from the experimenter that might tell them and it might tip them off and say, you know, hey, now I know which treatment I'm getting. Just because they wouldn't do it intentionally, but they might do it unintentionally. So double blind, it gets rid of that. If the person who is interacting doesn't know whether the subject is getting a fake treatment or a real treatment, then there's no way for them to tip their hand and let the subject know. The whole idea is to keep the subject from knowing. And the only reason to blind the people who interact is to, again, keep the subject from knowing. All right, let's look at an example here. Okay, a more expensive placebo. In a study reported by New York Times on March 5, 2008, okay, more expensive placebos bring more relief. Okay, researchers discovered that placebos have a stronger effect when they were perceived to be more expensive. So some of the subjects were told the medication cost $2.50 for dose, and others were told it cost 10 cents a dose. In reality, both medications were placebos, and both had a strong effect. The cheap placebos, 61% experienced pain relief, while 80% of the expensive ones experienced pain relief. So again, people's belief helps them to. This is why placebos are very important, because if we have a real treatment, it had better do, and we want to make sure that it does better than a placebo does. If it doesn't do better than the placebo, then it's really not worth our time. All right, inference for experiments. What is statistically significant? That's going to be an important one later on, okay? And statistically significant, for now, we're just going to define it as an effect large enough that it is unlikely to occur by random chance. That is what statistically significant is.